What's up, everybody? It is the 5th, right after the 4th, and I'm in my office finishing up on some stuff. And I wanted to make sure that I posted a video because I got some updates on the debt that was released this week, and it is incredible with the prices. And also, we're going to talk about uh, some things that I think that will be able to help you. That's it's kind of outside of credit repair and debt, but it really has a lot to do with why people find themselves in situations, why we all find ourselves in situations. And it's about, and I'm going to talk about it, is it comes down to positive thinking. It comes down to the way that we think. And then I'm going to talk about a situation on a medical debt that we're working with a client on some things that we had to do, and I want to show you how we kind of push the collection agency into a corner, uh, even though the collection agency is collecting for the hospital. But there was a certain strategy that we used that is going to allow that debt to be settled for less. We don't know how much, but it's going to allow it to be. It is positioned to be able to do it just because of the process that we put that debt through to make sure that it was validated. So first, let's get started. Let's get started on. And I got my list here. This is real. We got retail credit cards, and I keep telling people that this stuff is just going crazy. $22 million, $30 million, $2.9 million. Payday loans. This is a small one, 18,000. Must have been just from one location. More credit cards, 2.3. More credit cards, 16 million, 16.7. More credit cards, 85 million. Non-sufficient funds checks, 294,000. Uh, Auto loans, 858,000. Credit cards again, 2.5 million. Credit cards, these are all retails too. Retail credit cards, 8.4. Retail credit cards, 7.8 million. 7.8 million. That was 8.4 million. Uh, Payday loans, 58,000. More mixed credit card debt with department store, 28.9 million. 8.9 million. 26.8 million. Small credit card. This is like the stores, like some of the mattress firms and places like that. 516,000. Payday loans. This is a big one. 2.9 million. 1.4 million. Same place. College, online college. 115,000. Credit cards, department store, 5.4 and 71 million, 62 million, 58 million, 5 million, 27 million. Home shopping network, 497,000. And this one must be a small lender, $409,000. This is released into the market. They're going to be sending out the letter requesting that people pay these debts. And one of the things that I'm seeing on here, the first thing that I'm seeing on here is that the majority of this debt, like this one for 22 million, the one for 30 million, the one for 2.3 million, 16 million, 85 million, 850,000, 8.4 million. Almost all of these except for one group, two groups. The payday loan one and the non-sufficient fund checks, and there's two more. The college and the Home Shopping Network. All the rest is out of statute of limitations. So if anyone gets any of this debt here, it is not even legal for the people to collect this debt. I'm pretty sure it's out of the statute of limitations across the board for every state in the United States. It's across the board. So, understanding your rights. When you get a debt from a debt collector, the first thing you need to do is validate if it's past statute of limitations. Past statute of limitations is the origination date of that particular debt. It's gonna be the last payment date that you made a payment on, and it'll go from that date. And then you need to see if it's past statute of limitations for your state. If it is past statute of limitations for your state, there's no need to ask the debt collection company to validate the debt specifically. What you want to do is you just want to draft a letter directly to the debt collector, directly to the original creditor when you get that letter, and it'll have the debt collection company. It might even have that they assigned it to that debt collection company. So you want to send it to the debt collector that owns it. You want to send it to the debt collector that's assigned it, and you want to send it to the original creditor. And this letter is going to say this: that due to the laws in my state, this debt is past statute of limitations, and I want you to cease and desist all collection activities for this debt. And if you do, I consider it harassment, and I'll report it to my state attorney general office, any other legal authority pertaining to debt collection. And you can also say you'll report it to their state attorney general for them. That will usually wipe that off, and they'll send you a letter saying that they're going to cease coming after you for that debt. They're going to cease coming after you for the debt. And you might get some crazy debt collection company that'll try to pull a stunt, make all these threats, and if they can scare you, they can get you emotional, and if you accidentally pay even $1 on a debt that's past statute of limitations, you've just opened the door and reset that whole entire debt. Yes, that's why they try to get you to pay. Can you pay $5? Can you pay $10? Because if you do that, then you allow them to reset it, and then they can set up to go and take you to court over that debt, and it's going to be a new set debt. And when you do that, you're entering into a new contract with that debt collection company when you actually did not have a contract with the debt collection company. That's why they always send you a letter, and if you read it carefully, it says that they trying to collect the debt, but it also gives you the opportunity to dispute the debt. And your first level of disputing that debt would be, if it's past statute of limitations, is to just state that that it's past statute of limitations for the state that you live in. They need to cease and desist all collection activity on this debt, or you will report them to the proper authorities, your state attorney general, their state attorney general. It'll usually stop it right away. So we got that. With the medical one that we looked at with a current client, it was a medical bill, and what happened was they were coming after this family for some bills. They had actually made a settlement with payments with the hospital. They're not trying to run away from the bill, but what it looks like what happened is that the hospital, because of an insurance error, they put that bill aside and they left the other bills that had been paid by the insurance and the payment arrangement by the family. They actually separated this one out. And so what we did is we wanted to see if we could get that put back into the agreed one where they're paying the small payments each month. And this is not what would have been covered with the insurance. This is just a side. amount that they would have had to pay regardless. So we tried to get that put back into that, and they didn't want to put it back into there. So what we did next is we um, sent a validation to the collection agency, because the collection agency said that they cannot reveal, which is true. If they would have revealed it, they would have invalidated that debt. So we asked the collection agency to get the information about a particular debt to see if this debt was still valid and if they really did have to pay this debt. And that we knew that the debt is valid. So what we were trying to do as a technique is to back them up into a corner and get them into the position of where they're going to want to settle this debt. Because what I've learned over the years is that when a debt collection company goes to a company to offer their services to a hospital or to whoever, first thing that they do is they oversell themselves. They say, we can collect it. We're the best debt collection company on the planet, and we collect, 90% of the debts that come into our office. So what happens is that and people don't even usually think about this that scenario, because, and what made me even bring it into my business is that with my other companies where companies owed me money and we ended up having to sue them, or try to where there's just companies that owe my other company money, and debt collection companies would come to my company and they would say, well, we could collect it. If you have any collections, we collect it. We just want to get a commission on it. We have the best debt collection company on the planet, and we can collect it. We do all these different things to collect your money. And so I was thinking with my credit repair company, that's the same thing that they're doing. They're just going to these hospitals or going to these different creditors, and they're saying that we can collect the money and we'll get it for you. These are debts that are assigned to debt collection companies from the original creditor, not when they're purchased over. If it was purchased over, this would just be an open and shut, where a settlement could be negotiated, and it'd just be done in 5 or 10 minutes, really. But when you're dealing with a debt collector that's assigned, where they're just hired out by the hospital, like in this situation, the hospital will usually give them automatically a certain amount that they will settle the debt for. If they're not doing it on a commission and they're just paying them, that debt collection company, a retainer every month to go after all of these collections, they'll usually just say, well, anything that we give you automatically will just knock off. Some of the times it could be upwards of 40 to 50% off of the debt. And so we'll see that happen. And so once we get them back into that corner, we start the negotiation process, and we'll first see what they're going to offer. And then from what they're going to offer, then we'll try to counter back. Depending on, it just really depends on the hospital, depends on the insurance, depends on a lot of different things. It's every case is going to be different. You can usually go down a little bit more. You'll usually be able to tell when you're talking with the debt collector on the phone if there's any potential for getting it even lowered a lot more. And usually with these here, they're going to want to get everything in one payment. Sometimes they might let you spread it over 2 or 3 payments if you're going to get a settlement. But you can say that 99% of the time, if they're going to knock it down that far, they're going to want to get the money, within 10 days, which is the standard, within 10 days. So we got them to respond. The hospital knows it couldn't be reset back into the with the other arrangement. So what we're doing now is because we backed them into a corner, and now the collection company wants to make it look good with the hospital, because if they're giving them stuff and they're communicating with people that owe them money, those are the situations that have to be worked out. It's different if they're not responding uh, to any calls from the debt collector, but when you're responding, those are reports that they have to report back to the hospital every month to say, hey, we talked to these people and this is what's going on in the situation. Because if no money is being collected, the hospital wants to know, well, what are you doing to collect our money? And so these notes they're being recorded, they're being notes are being typed out, and then they're forwarded up to whoever at the hospital, so they could just say, well, we're working on these, we're talking to these people, are not responding, do you want us to go into the next step for the people that are not responding? So that's the way that if you have that type of thinking, you can see how you can back any debt collector that's assigned a debt into doing something to negotiate a way to pay off that debt. And that even goes for ones that are assigned a debt from a bigger debt collector, because they want to look good, because they're usually given that debt at no cost. They're just given that amount of debt, like they assign it to them. They don't even pay any money, and they go and try to collect that debt. And if they're not doing a good job, they won't get any new debt assigned to them. So now I want to finish out this video talking about motivation, talking about positive thinking, talking about how you have to have mentally manipulate your mind until you get into the feeling where it's like unconscious feeling of feeling good. Uh, when I wake up in the morning, a lot of things run through my head, and what I have to do is I have to change my thinking if anything is bad. So but what I've learned and what I want to teach you how to do, or really, it's not really about teaching, it's about making you aware, because if you have everything inside of you to be whatever you want to be and to be successful. So what I want to make you aware of, and what I'm becoming more and more aware of every day, is that number one, there's nothing that I do, nothing that anyone else is doing. And I'm talking about a multi-billionaire. I'm talking about a person that is a movie star, a person that is a sports player, a person that owns a tech company that's worth billions of dollars. There is absolutely no difference between any of us. The only difference is that that individual thinks at a different level. Is that person thinks at a different level, and that's what you have to get used to doing. That's what all of us have to get used to doing, is you have to think that you do have that ability, and then when you think that way, you'll start putting things in motion, and you'll be able to see the results of what you're trying to do. And then also, you can't be thinking too much about knowing how something is going to work out. What you have to do is just put a picture in your mind of how you want it to work out, and then all of the things will just come to you and allow that to materialize, so to speak. Like, there's a lot of things that I go through on a day-to-day basis, and I find myself, and I practice this over and over and over again, where if I find myself where I'm like doing automatic thinking, and there's good automatic thinking and then there's bad automatic thinking. Bad automatic thinking is like if you're sitting there and you're searching your email and you're not really even doing nothing, you're looking at stuff, or you're like watching TV and you're like unintentionally just on like you're on cruise control. That is not a good level of thinking. Now, not to say that you shouldn't be able to do that at certain times, but you need to understand when you're doing that you're actually not even using your conscious mind. You're just subconsciously doing things. When you're working is when you have to be careful of not doing that. So when you're working, you have to be conscious of everything that you're doing. You have to say, I'm getting things done, that I'm not just searching my email and then the whole day passed and you got nothing done. We all do that, And what I do is I write my notes, and then on those notes I'll start crossing off what I accomplished for the day, and that helps me be able to move forward, make sure that I'm getting things done, make sure that I'm not just in like an automatic mode. Now, the other side of that is that you want to be in automatic mode is you're thinking of moving forward in like your automatic where you're have a positive thinking, automatic of where you wake up in the morning and you automatically say, I do feel good. Even if you don't feel good, you just start giving yourself reasons that you do feel good. And that will help you be able to move forward in your life, help you move forward every day. And if you keep doing that every day, what happens is that that energy gets released and you will start attracting more positive things into your life. That's with everything. And I used to always wonder, like when we would work on a person's credit, we'll have two files that are the same, just about the same. I mean, it can't be exactly the same, but they have similar negative items on there, and it could, like it's just like if you put these two people together, they're very similar on what they're going through. And one person, we were able to get that file done, knocked out. Seems like everything goes, the way that we wanted it. The outcome was what they wanted. Everybody is happy. And then we have another client that was similar to them, and it was like that file is just like going through hell to be able to try to get the job done for that person. And what I started doing was I was like asking my customer service team, what's the mindset of that individual? Tell me about that person, because something isn't right. And what we started finding, and what I started finding, and when I would, look at these files, it was really nothing to do with the file. What it was the mindset of that individual. That individual was negative. I don't care what any of us do. Someone could give us the secret of something. Someone could do the best job for us, and if we have negative thinking, it's gonna find a way to not work. It's just going to find a way to not work. And that's what I started finding, is that these customers were negative people, and so no matter what, they had in their mind that nothing was going to work. And and what happened was, no matter how hard we did the work for them, other things would come up to make them right in their thinking. So if they thought nothing was going to work for them in their life, then the things that we did wasn't going to work. Other things that they were going through built up and made it even worse for them. So it was like just nothing would materialize for them. When on the other side, the other individual was more positive minded thinking, and they were like, I want to work with your company. I'm going to follow what you tell me to do. And on my own personal life, I'm starting to think more positive because I want to bring more positive things into my life. So you need to always remember that. And I know it can be hard to do, but you have to start living that way. And just, it's like an exercise. The more you do it, you'll start to see that it does work. So if you need any of our help, remember you can go to our website, thecreditrepairshop.com. You could look at the results that we've gotten for customers, and the one thing that you could just really understand that what we're going to do is that we're going to look at your situation. We're going to put together a game plan. If you're thinking positive and you allow us to do the work, and then you are engaged when we need to have you be engaged, we'll be able to get the job done. So go to our website, links below this video. It's thecreditrepairshop.com. And if you need to get your credit reports, we have a link below just so you can look at your reports and get all 3 reports, so you can see exactly what your situation is, instead of guessing what your situation is. All right, thanks a lot. Until next time.